Thank you very much. Thank you, chairpersons. Friends, I should first of all thank Cahocon for this opportunity to focus your attention on this vital issue, which is taken as the standard of, as representing the standard of care of any healthcare system. Maternal mortality audit or maternal mortality ratio as such is taken as an index of the standard of care of any nation. And this conference, with patient safety as its theme, it's only appropriate that you thought about discussing that. But I should be grateful to the organizers for giving me an opportunity, because this has been a passion for me for quite a time. And the state of Kerala, we audit all maternal deaths, and probably that's the reason why I was asked to share my experience on this ground. Coming to the topic, I think that picture is not very big enough, but this is from the media. The picture of the recent South China air crash. And what you're seeing there are the rescue team searching to find out the black box. Of course, as you know, the black box is probably orange in color, but the rescue team is very keenly looking at the black box. Why after every air accident, they look for the black box? And the reason is, it's essential to find the cause of the crash. And every day, about 800 mothers die in the world in childbirth or immediately after that. And it is so important to know the cause of that death, then only we can identify what we can do to prevent it. Just like the airline industry realized long ago that only if we know the circumstances of the crash, we can prevent it from happening again. And based on the knowledge that they gain, they work out strategies so that the most potentially dangerous mode of travel, that is air travel, is now the safest mode of travel. And taking this analogy to the maternal health or the childbirth scenario, most potential to have problems, but the one that has to be made safe. That's the whole idea of audit. And what we have identified and practiced is confidential audit is essential to find out the facts. Because other types of audit, there is likely to be influences, likely to be bias, and you need not get to the root cause. And that is why confidential review of maternal death is essential to find out the real reason for the maternal death. And only with that knowledge, we can work out on strategies, solutions to prevent similar deaths from happening again. Coming to the types of audit, basically there are 4 types of audit. One is the verbal autopsy. What it is, I'll come back later. Facility-based audit. In our state and most of the country, deaths occur in the hospital. So when you audit what happened in the hospital, that's the facility-based audit. Near-miss audit, again I will come back to that. But what we have been doing in the state of Kerala, and that is confidential review of maternal death, CRMD as we call it, has been what we have been doing. And we started it in the year 2003 with help from WHO. And what you are seeing in that picture are experts from WHO. Those who are any training in obstetrics may know the first person that you see over there is how do we go back? The first person you saw on that picture is, go back, this one. The first picture that you see here on this is the famous Philpott. And of course, other dignitaries from across the world came to help us in formulating this, and that is how we started confidential review with support from WHO, as well as from the government of Kerala. And this is done by the Kerala Federation of Obstetrics and Gynecology. But later on, we realized, and WHO also realized, that it is not enough to identify why the mothers died. We have to identify the reason for that and work out remedial actions as well. So the whole concept then changed from maternal death audit to maternal death surveillance and response. Once you identified why the mothers died, the medical reason for that, you have to identify how we can prevent it from happening. Otherwise, audit is meaningless. And in Kerala, this is what we did. We first of all tried to find out why our mothers are dying. Thankfully, the death rate in Kerala is the lowest. But we didn't want to stand on that. We wanted to bring it down further. So we wanted to find out the cause, the real cause, and work out solutions for that. And that is what is being published by us. This book actually contains the experience of the audit for the last 10 years in our state. The causes of maternal death, as we identified, are not very creditable. As you can see, the first column over there shows hemorrhage as the leading cause of maternal death. The second is hypertension. And as we go down the line, we can see that many of them are preventable. Many of them are ones where we can do a lot. Unfortunately, these causes change, the ratios change, and what we can do about them also changes. Here in this slide, you can see that third in the line is suicide. I'll come back to suicide in a minute. The leading cause we found was maternal death was due to hemorrhage. So what can we do? Hemorrhage is most of the time unexpected, unpredictable, and even though we have many methods to prevent it, it need not be successful in preventing. So what can we do to prevent it from leading to maternal death is what we worked out, and simple solutions were worked out by us. Two of my colleagues in other parts of the state, Dr. Samartha Ram and Dr. Vasudev Panikar, they identified this cannula, which can be inserted into the uterine cavity and create negative pressure, which will make the uterus contract and stop the bleeding. On our own, what we identified was it is easy to develop a clamp to occlude the uterine arteries. Immediately we noticed that there is excess bleeding. So work like this was the outcome of auditing and finding out what the cause was for the maternal death, and then solutions were found. You all know that, unfortunately, in the whole country, as well as across the world, C-section is the major cause of maternal death. Major problem. And following many cesarean deliveries, we have the problem of placenta, which will be adherent deeply into the uterine wall and even to the bladder, and we call it placenta accreta spectrum. This was becoming a major threat for us in state as well. So what we did was to control the bleeding, to control the blood supply to that area, we developed a clamp, which is now, again, internationally recognized. The article is just accepted by the International Journal for publication. A simple device like that. What I mean is that audit by itself is meaningless unless you find solutions for it. Hypertension leading to eclampsia. I'm sure many of you, even though all of you may not be doctors, would have heard that severe hypertension in pregnancy can lead to bleeding in the brain. It can lead to convulsions, what we call eclampsia, and death. So we worked out what should be the systematic approach if we have a patient with severe hypertension. But unfortunately, the causes of maternal death change, and we have to be vigilant at it, what is happening. Just look at the data, what happened last year. Out of 184 maternal deaths, almost 50% was due to COVID. And fortunately, thankfully, COVID is gone, but then another threat is coming up, suicide, which will soon become the leading cause of maternal death in our state. So like that, we have to be vibrant, we have to be at it to find out the changing trends. And then only we can work out the proper solutions. COVID, suicide, I'm afraid, will become the leading cause of maternal death in the next year. Not only in Kerala. This is the problem across the world. In the UK, that's their main concern now. So we have to be adapting to the changes in the community and to the realities. Now, at the community level, if the delivery is not happening in the hospital, to know why death is happening, we have to reach the place where the death happened, to the society, to the house. And that is verbal autopsy. Specially trained team goes there and does the audit. But if it is the verbal autopsy, it has to be done in a very sensitive manner, and specially trained teams are required for that. When death occurs in a hospital, audit, regular, impartial, looking back at what happened is important. And that is what we call facility-based audit, the second type of audit. But the near-miss audit is the one that is getting more and more recognition and importance now. What is a near-miss? Near-miss is a case where the condition was so serious that ordinarily it would have led to death, but was saved, say, by providence. Malayalathil parayuvallo, Devam രക്ഷപ്പെടുത്തി. Or the proper intervention by the healthcare team. So, if such happenings occur, if we audit that, that will be a surrogate to find out what would have happened if that care was not available. So near-miss audit is probably becoming more important than death audit across the world, and in our state also we are doing that. Whatever is the type of audit, the aim is to learn lessons from it and take steps to prevent such happenings in future. That is the appropriate action that is required. That's the purpose of the whole audit. Now, the question that is often asked is, should we worry so much about, the professional should worry so much about saving these maternal lives? I can only quote, this is a very often quoted quote from one of the presidents of the International Federation of Obstetrics and Gynecology, Mahmoud Fatala. Unfortunately, he is no more. The past president of International Federation of Obstetrics and Gynecology. What he has put is, maternal death is a human rights issue. Why is the mother dying? Because he got pregnant and she's going to give birth. Why? Not just for the pleasure of it. Without childbirth, human species will get extinct. So she is doing a noble act of helping, sustaining the human race. In that process, if she dies, there is a reason for the community to safeguard her life. So that is why it's a human rights issue. And in that, what Fathallah has said is, these women are dying not because the technology to save their lives is not available. They are dying because society is yet to decide whether their lives are worth saving. And that is why governments, federations like this, society at large has a responsibility to see that their lives are saved. Every day, 800 maternal deaths occur. In other words, 4 aircrafts like this are crashing, full of pregnant women and with none surviving. If this had happened, even the Chinese, unfortunately, Chinese accident did not get the headline that should have deserved because Ukraine was leading at that time. But whatever it is, every day, equivalent of 4 aircrafts are crashing in the world. Fully laden with passengers, they are all pregnant, and none of them surviving. If that is happening, if people realize the mammoth nature of this, our bodies would have been more active. Unfortunately, these are happening scattered across the world, where even media won't have much interest or attention. And that is why this is a point which doesn't get the attraction that it deserves. But to prevent that, just like an air crash, what we require is to know why that happened. We want to recover the black box. And the black box of a maternal death is the audit, and especially confidential review of maternal death. We need to get that black box to identify and then work out solutions, what we can do to prevent that from happening again. That's the whole purpose of audit. Thank you very much.